What am I even trying to say as a photographer?
Why portraits?
This is going to get the journalism police called on me. What a photographer does choose to control results in the outcome of the work. Photography is already devalued.
Dive deeper into that process.
Maybe as individual pieces, they become weaker, but the sum of all the parts makes a photo collection.
Problem I see is that AI is growing faster than we are.
There is a time before AI and there's a time after. Delete this podcast. My own advice is,
how do you set your shoots up? I mean, okay, if we were to talk specifically about Ethiopia and the tent, that I've obviously seen a lot of what you've been posting about that and heard a lot about you talking about it. And on the outside, it seems quite a simple function.
Yeah.
In terms of, makeshift studio in the middle of wherever.
Yeah, natural light.
What is talk to me and the viewers about kind of how you go from Joey sat on the sofa to getting one of your most revered shots,
right,
in the book or elsewhere. What is that process? Certainly on set or on location. What happens? How do you set it up? And then what's the process of the shoot itself?
Is there a specific Is there a specific example? No, is there a specific photo like from the Ethiopia book, or you mean commercial work or anything?
Anything. I mean, your most recent work is
probably
relevant because it's kind of your most recent processes, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe let's talk about
I've got an example actually.
Okay.
Before we talk. In your one of my favorite images. Well, actually, the other one is the NFT I got from you. Absolutely incredible panoramic image back in 2008. I think one of your first shots. But the other one I picked out from the book was of a shepherd, camel herder,
right,
who was dragging a trail of camels. And I think when you posted it on social media, if I remember rightly, you attached a BTS shot with it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about your work is it looks so simple in terms of one light setup, natural light, balancing the two.
The gentleman walking the
that's it, and you were kind of
in
off
Afar.
at kind of
and then I'm walking with there's two of those. There's like the Karayu place, the Afar place, but it's both the same kind of style. Like for that place, I believe you're talking. Is it the salt mining photo?
No.
Are they carrying bricks of salt?
Yes, I want to say yes.
Okay.
One guy at the front, pull it.
So like that guy I've already been with all day long.
We'll pull it up on screen
I hope it's what I'm thinking of, but it's okay. There's a wide shot and then there is a close-up shot of the camel caravans that mine salt in the Afar region. It's still a commodity in Ethiopia that they can sell across the whole country. And I love it because it like reminds me of the old days when there were different kind of currencies. You could deal in salt, you could deal in gold, you can deal in the thaler. Anyway, at that point, I'd already set up my tent there. I think it was like a day or two before. I remember when I took that portrait, I was like really sick from heat exhaustion. I didn't drink enough water. It's the hottest place on earth in the Afar zone. So I had like been there a few days before I like got sick and came back. I was kind of like there over the course, I think maybe 3 or 4 days or so. I forget the distance of those two photos. You can check the EXIF data and see. But I had already like been with them. They're mining salt and they're going to go on the road. Okay. So, all of the aerial stuff is just them mining salt in the way that it looks. It's quite easy to get something striking there because it's like a beautiful salt flat lake. Everything looks good. No, don't matter what. But that portrait is lit with a flash when he's walking with his camel. So he already knows what I'm there. And I'm not trying to create something that's like a fake walking shot or something where it's like, you don't feel my presence as a photographer. In fact, I want to elevate this to look more like a painting using a flash. So I will explain to him what I'm going to do is like, let's walk together. Don't mind me. It's going to be weird. We'll like try to keep up with you. and I will literally walk beside him, and I had my friend Nebu with the flash, just literally photographing him on a very low power as he walks. And then we got to the end of the salt lake, okay, said goodbye, and then one day later we found him on the road as we were going by, and we saw how far he had made it because he was taking the same road that we were.
Wow.
And I was able to show him even like something mocked up that I had done, like a double page spread of the wide shot and that. So that's kind of how I see it is, obviously for a portrait, there's a level of control and you're going in there and yeah, you are setting stuff up to a degree because it's a portrait. But at the same time, like those are his camels. That's the stuff that he's mined. That is his place. That is where he's walking. So my work is kind of the balance of those things, like the real, but also like me making a portrait in that environment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there'll be a balance. Another example of that is the crocodile hunter shot.
Mhm.
So there's the Vice documentary that follows us doing that, me going on the hunt with them nights for in a row. But the photo that's in the book is not exactly an action shot because that takes place at night. Instead, what they did was when they hunted this thing, they kept it in the hunting camp and slept beside it actually at night. And then they moved it to the village in the morning to like cut up and distribute to all the families. So the portrait that I took of the crocodile hunters, the guy that I was with who spotted it, but it is during when they're moving it from this place to that place, portrait in the middle of it.
Right.
So he's holding it and it's an environmental portrait, but like that's not a hunting photo.
Yeah.
Right. That's a portrait.
Yeah. But that's what I like is that the balance between kind of pure documentary style photo, right, in the moment, in the action,
Yeah.
with the more of a fine art kind of approach to an image.
And I'm just remembering back, like the hunter's name is Morius. I also have photos of him holding his fish in the same kind of thing. He's by his fishing nets. He's in the low water from maybe a year before.
Okay.
Right. When we were doing something else. So it's like when we finally got that thing, he's already used to what I'm doing. So he's like, oh, it's like that thing that I did before. So that's not in the book. That's not in the photo. That's too much the same, but that's just like a level of involvement and doing things the same amount of time where I think you really can get a very authentic and, kind of trusting sense with people from just being there multiple times across a long period of time.
Yep.
You don't have to. It doesn't have to be in every single portrait. But when it comes to something very, very complicated or literally you're risking your life together, right? You can make things like that I think are some of the heavy hitting images in the book that really make people stop and go, wow, it's not, I got lucky that day. Of course we got lucky because they managed to like hunt this thing when I was there.
Yeah, what was it? 4 nights in a row you didn't get anything? What was it?
Yeah, there's that, but also there's like the years before of also like being there and trying. So yeah, there's luck to it, but there's also just like, I know if we do get this thing, I know how we can make this not just what the Vice filmmakers were filming when we were there. What's the special fine art portrait that we're going to take away at the end of this? What is the whole point of being here? It's that.
Yeah.
So that's what I tried to achieve with that portrait, but many things inside the book. There's a level of construction. There's a level of setting up, but they don't feel that way because they're the real people doing their real thing in the environment. So there's truth to it as well. It's like a painting.
Yeah. I get that. I used to get it more than I do now. Now, the audience that I do have kind of understand my style as well, and understand that nearly every shot is set up. However, whatever level of setting up you can call it, but every photo is usually that person within their own environment or doing something that they normally do. It's just we're kind of interrupting that a little bit to just
they're aware of the camera.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And people who pretend that people are not aware of cameras are also lying.
Yeah.
And setting stuff up.
Yeah.
Pretending not to be there.
Yeah.
When clearly, if you have a huge camera, someone's going to notice you and act different. So even I would argue kind of like purist point and shoot stuff where someone pretends to not be there, it's almost certainly the case that the subject like acknowledges that someone's there. So it's the same thing in my view.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when those purists also can, I get this as well, like will critique editing or overhanded editing or what they would conceive as too much editing or any editing at all is bad. It's like, well, you're editing as soon as you pick up a camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's like you're
I
not
agree.
a true documentary photographer, whatever you want to call yourself. Like you're choosing what you put in that camera.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that kind of does my head in.
I also don't recall when I was born like agreeing to those rules to live in this world.
Yeah. It's
right.
just made
did
up.
did I sign something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I sign something that like made me part of this? Cause like I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to be there. I don't want to live in that world.
But we all
So
have we all have a level of judgment. I mean, you mentioned the words, you know, meaningful photography and good. I don't think
that's just what I like.
Yeah.
Other people like something else, and that's good.
Yeah.
We shouldn't all like the same things.
Yeah, but there is some shit out there.
Some people like shit. Some people think I'm shit. That's fine.
Well, that's actually going to be my next question. Do you get
even I think I'm shit?
Do you
most
get
of
any
the time.
critique?
I think I'm shit most of the time.
Well, we all do, but
right.
Not that we all think you're shit. Just we all think.
Of course, I get critiqued. Like every artist should. It's normal.
Yeah, but I mean like not constructive critique, not like an artist critiquing other artists. I mean,
I get a surprising low amount of hate for the things that I say. I should receive more, but I don't. I don't know. I think most of it is just honestly, it's usually people like one of the things that always gets thrown at me, not always, but maybe once a while, is like when you're selling this book, does it benefit the people, right? Do you pay them? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a copy pasted answer because I get the same question. And that's okay. You shouldn't be mad at that person. That's like a really good question, right? And I always have to copy paste the same answer, which is yes. Number one, I pay people. Number two, the charities that I've worked for or that I've volunteered my time for have literally generated millions of dollars for these communities, indirectly and directly. So like one of the things I did for WaterAid for Tumbo's Wound, it was a project called Untapped, and it raised millions of British pounds, and then it was even matched by the British government to become doubled. And that's something that went directly to the place that I was photographing. So of course there was a campaign, and it wasn't just my photos, but I was directly attached to that as the only photographer. In another case, Oxfam used the images that I made of the oil fires in Iraq to put pressure on the coalition to extinguish them. Now, was that my work? No, it was like hundreds of journalists doing different work, writing articles, a lot of researchers. I had like a small part in that, but at least I was part of it. So no, when I sell a book, there's not a royalty that's like instantly distributed on someone's mobile phone. That would be great if that technology existed. I'm sure it's coming. But what I've tried to do with my work is use it for good in the world and not supporting just dumb charities that don't do anything just to say I gave to this, but actually work with the actual charities that I support myself on the ground. So even my time has a value. The time that I've spent shooting for charities for nothing should be enough, but it's not. Even after that, I still donate and give. So yeah, maybe it's not like exactly to that specific subject, but I try to do it in a very meaningful way. So when I do receive that comment, it never bothers me because I know what I've done and what I haven't done. But sometimes on social media, they can post that and other people will pile on thinking, he's something's here, la, 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 and it'll track. The wolves will come out.
Especially on Twitter. The algorithm loves
it's built for hate.
Yeah.
So what I have to do is just put my ego aside and just think about, like, what have I actually done with this work, right? Am I proud of it? If I don't defend it here, then nobody else will, right? In fact, it'll become worse. So I do have everything out in the open. Even there's a page on my website that explains all of this. but most people, like you asked me, do I get hate online? It's mostly from people who don't do the due diligence of even just looking at my website. So if they don't have, the 5 minutes it takes to find like the charity tab of my website and like what I've done and like show that, and they're just commenting, well, then should I really get upset at reading that? No. If they really wanted to attack me, there's worse things that they could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your photographs themselves can not be charitable, but serve a purpose to certainly the people that you photograph in terms of immortalizing them in a frame, forever? And do you feel like that's a responsibility that you carry?
Yeah. Well, that's what I hope all of this is.
Yeah.
And that's the greater point of this, where I believe in that so much that I don't think artwork should be linked with charity. I actually think it devalues the artwork. I don't think every time someone does something, there has to be any charitable component. I don't even believe in that. What I do is my own personal choice as a human to give or not to give, right? Just because someone's doing artwork doesn't mean it has to be linked to this like corny thing that we can't even prove, right? I don't like that. I don't like having to even, I don't like seeing other artists even have to placate to that. What they do should be their own choice, because the artwork should be enough itself, right? What someone's doing, what they're putting into the world, like when I see someone making work, especially an artist, I know they're already suffering through life to make that, right? Like the fact that they're out there doing that means they don't have a normal job. And the people commenting, saying those things, they do have a normal job that they can do, and then they like go and be trolls online, but it's like they didn't sacrifice anything to do that. So most people who behave like that online have never built anything anyway. And the first person who will defend me are the people in my book that would say to them, like, are you kidding? Like, I want to be part of this thing. Like, you want to stop that? Like, why don't, like, just go ask them, is this project meaningful to the person or not? They will say it's meaningful. So I don't know how we got down this dangerous podcast row, but it's good. But I think that people should, if they put years into something, they should believe in it, right? Like enough to just be like, yes, this is literally what I do. There is a charitable component to my work, but sometimes I wish there wasn't, just so I could be like, I believe in this enough that even on its own, the book is what it is, right? But at the same time, I've like seen, very good work on the ground, Charity Water, WaterAid, what they actually do. I've like been there myself and I've seen it and it is good. So I want to help them, and I want to help them with what I'm most best at. What I can give the most with is dollars, but also my own time as a photographer.
Yeah.
So I'd like to give both.
Also, charity doesn't have to be for those in need, essentially, if that makes sense, because, creating the art that you do, gives in an indirect and intangible way of inspiring millions of people, giving people joy and happiness. Just
should be enough.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be enough, but sometimes to some people it's not.
Do you feel like that's a weight on your shoulders?
No,
Okay.
I don't, because I believe in what I do.
Yeah,
and I know what I do is good, so I don't see it as a weight. I do see it as annoying, and I do see it as like kind of funny. But usually people, you can explain to them, and like people are good, honestly. Generally people are really good. And if you just take the time to explain, most of them will say, oh, damn, you're right.
Yeah.
So
it's just a bit of education, I guess.
Just a bit of education. And that's understandable.
Yeah.
You have to do that also as the photographer. It's like a weird thing that we do. It's very hard to understand.
Mm-hmm. On the flip side, why do you think your fans are your fans? Why do you think your followers are your followers? What is it about Joey L photography that you think people like?
I think like I've been doing it for a very long time, so clearly I care, and I put everything behind it, and I'm I don't know. I think when you've done something for a very long time, it can speak to people by nature of you still being around doing this thing. Of course, I know photographers like my work because of the technical aspects, and they can see how hard something is to pull off. But the other people who follow me that don't really know about photography, what I hope why they like my work is it's touching at something more profound inside, which is I guess, the curation of these things, or the thought behind why to even photograph this kind of thing in the first place. That even if someone's not visually trained, it could be subconscious. That's what I really hope. But I don't know. You should you should ask you should ask them.
Interesting your reaction to that question.
Why?
I don't know, because I think it's difficult for any artist or photographer. Well, some maybe not, but for a lot of people, it's difficult to talk about themselves in a kind of populist way. Like,
Right.
yeah, but
I chose to be behind the camera. What am I doing now?
Why are you on a podcast?
Yeah. And just a little self-aggrandizing here.
I think
I tried to be on the other side of this. What have I done? Yes.
I think it was a perfect answer. I mean, I think people certainly. I mean, I'm a little bit different because I'm a photographer as well. But I think when I first noticed you, I wasn't really. I was kind of interested in photography and wanting to learn. But your technical skills are obviously second to none. But I think with everyone, I tell this to people all the time because I believe it, and hopefully I exude it as well. But having a passion about something, it comes through in any work that you might choose to do.
Oh, that's a good point.
And
yes.
having and you mentioned it, because you believe in it, because you have passion for it, and that will always come through and it comes through in your work. You look at Joey L's images, go, yeah, he's doing this for a higher kind of reason, right? It's not to get likes, to get followers, to get approval, to not even so much just to make yourself feel good. Obviously that's a big part of it, but there is something greater to your images than just that, and that comes through. Definitely.
Yeah, there's other kinds of work that you could do which would get, especially in this modern social media landscape, way more followers and way more likes than what I do. I'm doing like the thing where I'm losing followers, right? Or just keeping the diehards there, let's say. So I totally agree. Like, you can tell when someone's passionate or fired up about something. That's what I really like to transmit, is just things that as I told you, when I'm choosing my photo projects, what to do, it has to be something that I get giddy about and excited about. And like, I love that stuff. Like, I love what I shoot. I'm like obsessed with it. It's all I talk about. It's all I annoy people with. So if people can resonate with that, then what they're resonating is the things that I find important that I wanted to share as well. So yeah, of course that's important. I do obviously, like, I am in documentaries. I do put myself and my face out there, and I do talk about my work to promote it. But at the end of the day, I do really want people to appreciate just the final output, which is the photographs. But I will endlessly promote it as well to make sure that
on
happens.
Twitter.
I will try my best to just also not have it shot and just live there and nothing happens with it. That's another thing, is like, you can do all these things and no one can see it. That's not the point either. I made this to share,
Yep.
Yeah.
When you put your photographs out there, do you want people to be intrigued and make their own interpretations from the image or images, or do you always want to have a narrative, a written narrative, a written concept, associated with that?
No, I think, like, my work is not very conceptual, so there's not much to, put there, like, interpretation wise. So I think no.
Okay.
Yeah, if I was doing more art photography, highly conceptual, maybe, but even then, I don't know.
Where does culture come into it? I mean, I feel like culture today is kind of diminishing as well, or certain subcultures around the world that getting lost.
No, you're just getting older and becoming an old man.
Maybe.
That was crazy. TikTok kids don't have any culture.
That is a culture.
That's a total culture.
What do you feel like that will always be the backbone of your projects as well? Specific cultures that you want to kind of transmit into the future?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's a great portion of what I've done so far, and like, especially a love of anthropology. So the series in Kurdistan is about culture. It's not so much about conflict photography. It's all that stuff is there. and there's a war, and that's very real, but it is about a cultural renaissance inside of a war zone. That's what the subject matter is. So yeah, it has to do with culture, but I don't think like every photo project I have to do, like for example, my work, I don't want it to be like, where will he go
You're
next?
right.
What crazy, like I'm not interested in that. I want to do something that's like a very long-term, meaningful project. So if it relates to Halloween or something, of course that's related with culture as well. Maybe like our own
Mm-hmm.
Western culture. So yeah, that's in photography, but that's going to be baked in if you're just photographing people, right? So yeah, I don't think that my work like has to be about, a specific rural community or anything like that. I don't want it to be framed like that.
Okay.
I never want to be like a travel photographer, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like the photography community it needs to be shocked. It's getting so lethargic and
Monotonous.
just repeating
Yep.
itself. Like it's like especially like I don't know, it's just it's it's dead. I really feel that way. It needs. I mean, we're not going to
Spark.
do it with the podcast, but you know what I'm saying? It's just people need to. I don't know.
No, it's nice that you say that, because the whole reason I started this podcast was to, I don't know, learn for myself, obviously, and meet people, which is fantastic, but ignite something in this industry that I didn't quite, haven't grasped yet.
Yeah.
There is something that is,
Like, what are we doing?
I mean, it's so just saturated with, I mean, it's a lot of it is just utter shit.
Right.
And yeah, I know what you mean. Like some people like shit, and it's in the eye of the beholder. And no, but some of it is just shit, and a lot of people get reinforced, positive vibes from shit, and it really pisses me off. But that generally is life, I think. In any industry, you get that. So I have to consciously try and separate myself from that, and not being too pretentious about it and not being too snobby about it. But I think that's where the best stuff rises to the top, when you are a little bit discerning and you realize that this industry needs a complete shake-up.
Yeah.
Or
I need
or a
to. I need to
spark.
do it. I mean, I need to apply it to myself as well. I need to follow this advice as well, like we all do. It's just yeah. I really do feel like we're at a great turning point in most of the world, the art market as well. But there's a great shift going on, and in that great shift, a lot of things are being destroyed. But that's always a time of great opportunity as well. So I'm here for it. I like it.
I think there's going to be way more opportunity than people think.
Yeah. Well, there is.
Yeah.
There absolutely is.
Yeah. If I put something out there on Insta, so a few people wanted to ask you some questions. So I'm gonna roll with some of these. So
Cool.
a couple of them are technical, a couple of them not so much. Actually, this is quite a good question. A question I get as well. Like, a lot of your photos, the subjects aren't smiling.
Right.
Is that a deliberate and conscious kind of decision, or is that just happenstance that it's just a natural pose?
No, I'm a very goofy person in real life. Usually people are smiling. I do like to think of it as kind of like classic and timeless work. And I feel like there's a good place for a nice smiling photo. There's quite a few in the Ethiopia book, I must say. Some of the dance scenes and things like that. But portraits and stuff, no, because then for me, it goes into the realm of a different kind of portrait, which is fake and performative for the camera. So if it's a scene where it's like happening, as I said, there's like a great dance in Kaffa with my wife's aunt is smiling in the book. There's another thing from the South. There's laughing. I think there's a lot, but I guess that person's looking at my old work before I was happy.
What would you say is the most important thing when taking portrait?
The most important thing is to really care and to really be involved at a deep level and to really help the person trust you. and explain to them what your intentions are, even if that makes your job more difficult as a photographer. It's going to make things more time consuming, more difficult, but it is going to end up in a way better portrait in my view.
Why?
Because we as humans, when we look at we have very good bullshit detectors as people, right? Because we look at people's faces all day long. Even uh, if we can even notice AI, meaning portrait photographers, that other people can't, because there's like an uncanny valley. So like following that logic, if something feels very genuine and it's very real, it's like oftentimes just because it is. It was like that before the photo was taken, and it was like that mood or that feeling. So when you're a photographer, I think you have to be very cognizant of that. Anything is going to bleed through the photos, especially if you're doing photography with non-actors, with natural light and these kind of environments. There's just no way to fake it. It's just like people's bullshit meter goes crazy. So how do you make an honest portrait? It just starts from the minute that you begin, which is before photography happens.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it does in most social interactions also. Photography is kind of a social interaction.
Yeah. Collaboration almost. Well, hopefully, right?
Yeah, and a first impression and everything.
Why medium format? And I don't want to talk too much about equipment because I just don't like it. But I think
Medium format is juicy. It's the juiciest format there is.
Yep. Well, I'm in that corner as well, but
it's not about resolution.
Why.
Resolution is great, but it's very tonally vast. The tonal range is very thick and juicy, and I just think as a portrait photographer, any technical advantage can help, right? So it's like if you as a photographer, you really are slowing down and you're not doing kind of spray and pray photography, well, then there are certain technical things that are going to help you tell that story. And for me, for my style, one of them is that beautiful vast tonal range that medium format has. Of course, it like slows down things too, makes the shooting process more introspective. It's not like oh, like we got it, right? It's like a very slow burn to everything. And even when you come away from a shoot, you might have like one picture that is working, right? Instead of having 20,000 things. So it's challenging, but it does slow down things. And then of course the final result is beautiful to print. I mean, I'm someone who really loves paper and making prints, and having like a 16-bit file to work with is just like a dream for someone like me making big prints. So I like that final output aspect of it too.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad question. I mean, technical things are important in photography. It's like an art, but there's also a large technical component to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lens choice, everything.
Well, I have the H6D Hasselblad, and I've been using that now for 5 or 6 years. I still use it on projects, mainly because it's not so much the final. I mean, the final result is great in terms of the image quality, but I feel like it makes me a better portrait photographer because it's more of a mindful approach. It's more of a conscious, deliberate approach to your interaction, your scene. You're thinking about it, but you're just taking more time, and you're dealing with if medium format cameras were as user friendly and as technologically advanced as the full frame stuff out there, I don't think I'd be that bothered about it, given the prices that they are. But the fact that it makes me just more considered, I think it pays dividends.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah. What other equipment do you have in your bag? What do you go on location with?
I have the hold fast straps because the the phase 1 will destroy my wrist and give me
Yeah.
carpal tunnel one day.
Heavy.
So I do protect myself as well. Distribute the weight across my shoulders. I think that's important. Yeah.
Lenses?
I would say 90% of the book is shot on a 55 millimeter lens and an 80 millimeter lens. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And one light.
And I have a 35 millimeter lens as well. That's maybe, I forget what percent I was at, but whatever's left is 35 millimeter wide angle.
35 mil on the IQ4?
Yeah. It's like,
okay, so that's
makes like a
wide.
28 or something.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's 3 lenses.
Okay.
A light. Yeah.
I think I've asked some of these already. What are your biggest criticisms? How do you pitch for jobs?
Usually when an entity comes for me for a job, it's a unique situation because they want me to emulate some characteristic from my fine art work for that brand. So I don't pitch out of nowhere. Like I don't know what's it called, like cold pitch.
Yep.
Cold. I just if someone comes to me and they have an interesting idea that's very creative and they like what I already do, I'll like put together some references for them because sometimes I have things that are closer that might not necessarily be online, or I'll put together like an edit of images that relates to the mission we're trying to achieve. Maybe some explanation, but most of the time, honestly, I'm lucky because I get hired to do what I do in my own personal work. They just want to remove some of the, like they come to me wanting to remove some of the commercial polish that's on things, but still not go totally rogue, raw style journalism photography. They want me to like play that dance that's in between. And sometimes when an advertising agency comes to me, they might have already convinced their client, what the brand is like, we need to get away from this kind of imagery. Like, check out this photographer, Joey. Here's his books. Like, this is the kind of person that we want to hire. Of course, I have experience on set and, dealing with the stress that comes with a major production. But when it comes to image making, that part should be the same, where when you look through my work, I really want just the photo to speak on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And they would like that too, obviously. So most of the times, I don't have to like cold pitch for things. It's just, there's a need for what I do, and I have to explain how we can achieve that with production, because some of the things that might take months to get on my own, well, we have to figure out how to do it in a day of production, where you have all the equipment, you have people helping you, you have assistants, you have many moving pieces. It's like, you have all those things, but you can't let it spoil the final photo with too many things, right? So like the artistry should be the same, but certainly like how do you use a production backbone to increase the amount of images that you make over a period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. I mean, do you do much studio work?
Not really, not so much anymore.
You used to, right?
Most of my stuff is like on location. Yeah, some studio work I enjoy it. But my favorite kind of thing is going on location.
And there is still plenty of demand for that, or are you already seeing?
There's more demand for me personally, like more demand going somewhere and photographing a thing. That's my niche, like doing on location assignments.
Yeah, but is there's demand from clients that want that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As you were saying, yes, there'll be less of it in the future, but the more things become fake with AI and stuff, there'll be like more demand for this like niche, weird thing. Right? Like, ooh, who would have thought like actually going somewhere and photographing like someone real? Even it's funny, like, don't you find like even the language weird when you say like real people, because you assume everything else is fake? Like, That's strange.
That is strange.
Yeah,
And
real.
it's so,
They're real people.
and it's, and
Yeah,
it's,
we need
it's
real
coming
people.
soon. It's so
Yeah.
fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good question.
Well, yeah. How will AI change the industry? I think we've already covered that.
I love AI, by the way. Like, I think it's cool. I'm not against it. I think we should accelerate it.
It's not photography.
I think the companies that are going to Congress, on C-SPAN and saying like, please regulate us, they want to keep the advantage that they have so that there are harsh regulations to slow down competitors. I don't really think there's like a real risk of like an AI robot killing us all or something like that. I think that's, what is it? OpenAI has a competitive advantage. All the tech bros do that. Like when they have that, they're like, please regulate everyone who can't afford to get to where we are now. They're trying to scare people on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that it's open and it has been released to. I mean, it's great, and I mean,
I don't think it's that open, but OpenAI is more closed AI. But anyone can use these tools. Yes, that's true. But what I mean is how they structured their company is a walled garden.
Right. Okay.
But they have the competitive advantage now, so they'll beg, please don't let the other companies catch up to us. So impose harsh rules and regulations that we can afford as a giant company and crush all the little people coming.
Yeah, of course.
That's their tactic, in my view.
Well, and the technology that creates these LLMs and this AI is monopolized. It's weird. Like NVIDIA is the company that makes chips for this software. It's like one company based in Taiwan, right?
Right.
That's it. And then you have I can't recall the names of the companies, but essentially the everything behind AI is made by 3 companies, which is just weird to think about. So there is a control factor there. I mean, it's always about power and money anyway, but
yeah, if they were to regulate things, then they could crush anyone little. But right now, what's cool about this technology is it does give someone small the power of like 200 people. So a new artist can make something that I can't even think of right now. Like we're thinking in terms of photos or graphics or something like, well, what would an artist do with a superhuman power? We're going to learn what that is. Is it a photo where it changes every time I look at it? Is it a movie that adapts to the viewer? So we could all see the same movie, but we come out with a different choose your own adventure experience. I mean, right now there's the technology to watch a movie in your own native language, right? It can bend the actor's lips and change the voice to be a language that you're more comfortable with, right? But you could have a single movie, but it could have different outputs.
Yep.
Right. Depending on who's watching it, we might not even be living in the same world.
Well, I think that world is just going to become more volatile. I think that's what people are scared of, because on one side you have AI, let's say an AI capable of thinking faster and processing 100,000 times quicker than any human, could be the cure for cancer, right? In so many years. But conversely, it could be put it in the wrong hands and we've got nuclear war on our hands. So it's like,
I mean, we already have that, but yes.
We digress.
It'll be like nuclear war with like way better visuals. Right, they'll use Midjourney to put out the threatening tweets that world leaders already do. Just like the visual of the rocket that the North Koreans released will just be like really high fidelity now and really believable. Right.
Basically, we're all fucked. How?
I don't think so.
What is?
I think we'll be all right.
I'm a cynic. It's okay. What do you think is the most important question we should be asking ourselves these days as photographers? Because we talk about how photography industry needs a bit of a kick up the backside. How do we go about kind of addressing that?
I think why does this matter?
Yeah.
Why should someone care about this?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you force people to try to give a shit about something, usually they don't. But if something is so compelling and so interesting, people will care by themselves. Like when you release I think we were talking about this before when we first met, but like when you release a great project, people will gravitate toward it. And you don't have to beg them to do that
Yeah.
because it's interesting, because you already asked that question, like, why does this matter? Right. So if we're going to, do all this thing, if we're going to dedicate our time to something, I think, yes, I've been joking a lot today. I'm in a joking mood, but honestly speaking, like what we do should actually like matter. Right. So I think to answer the question simply, why does this matter? Why should people care about this? Why?
Yeah, why? I mean, it's such a great question to ask anything, right? Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you go
Why?
in? Why? Just yeah. And there's an incessant question to everything.
There's also who. There's also what. There's also where. Sorry. But yes, why?
I've totally lost my train of thought.
That's my fault. I'm sorry.
One of the I guess the questions that keeps coming back, whichever podcast I do, whoever I speak to, like, and a lot of people, it's a different answer every time, but how do you define success with what you do? And do you define it? Is that important?
Yeah, I think success for an artist right now is just, are they able to do this thing? That's it. It's a really low bar right now because it's so hard.
What's your definition? Same?
Oh, like within myself?
Mm.
No, because I've always done this and I don't have anything else. So if I don't have this, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Which is good, I think, because it'll just, light a fire under my ass to keep going. I think what's successful, I mean, we're making visuals to put out into the world. So I think they should really move people, right? They should inspire people. My book, I really wanted it to reframe the way that people view this particular region of the world. I really wanted to do that. That's something that really matters to me. For me, my family, for everything that I've ever cared about, I really want someone to go, oh, wow, I didn't know it was like this, right? So for me, that's success, is the people who come up to me and say, like, before I saw this, I thought A, but now that I've seen this, I think B.
So changing perceptions.
You can really do that as a photographer. That's what we've always done. Like we don't have to, cure cancer or build a rocket ship to go to the moon with our job, right? We shouldn't be doing that. What we do is something different.
Yep.
I at least that, like, right?
And I think you've explained how you do that over the last however long we've been talking, but in terms of your process and the greater narrative of a series or a book, is a book something you think you'll always do with your photography, or do you think that was
I'm very proud of it. I think it's a marker of success. I'm not going to lie and be falsely humble. I really am happy that that's being, spread all
sold
over.
Well?
It's sold very well. It's being spread all over the world so that if a certain region of the planet destructs, like, my book will still be in some other place. No, I'm just kidding. It's like a decentralized node. No, but honestly speaking, I think it's a measure of success. Everybody wants to, spread their work around and have it in the care of other people to protect it. So in that sense, it does become somewhat immortalized. A book is helpful to do that. If I had to hoard everything I ever did on a hard drive, well, it takes one generation, then all that's going to be gone. So I think that is a good measure of success. I don't think every project has to be a book. It's just one measure of doing something that matters to photographers because there's still a yearning for a physical object.
Yeah. So the important thing is then to leave a legacy?
No, I think it's like just to be a very good person and navigate through life just not being a piece of shit, basically. If you can do that, then you'll succeed as a person, right? Like, yeah, I don't really care about leaving a legacy. I do want my work to, like, live longer than me, right? But, at the end of the day, if you start seeing the world as like, oh, what about my legacy? I think you're going to be continually disappointed. You should be in it when you're in it, you know? And yes, I'm going to do things that spread my work around. I'm like very satisfied with that. But I don't really think about, when, at least when I'm like making the thing, I don't want to be so attached to something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just too much pressure. It's not going to result in good work for someone like myself.
Interesting.
Like after this interview and the praise you've given me, like I should go and find someone who's going to like yell at me and bring me down a
Just
peg
go on Twitter.
Yeah,
It's fine.
right, yeah, sure. I should find someone that's gonna.
No, it's because I mean, I fall into the trap of, I mean, maybe it's, I kind of overanalyze myself, but at 40 years old and, you know, we're not having children or anything. And I think there's a part of me that wants to leave something behind, if that makes sense. You know, most people, they'll have a family and go, well, that's my legacy, right? It's like, I see my photography in terms of, I want to create a body of work by the time I'm whatever age, hopefully I'm old when I die, and look back and go, that's kind of what I've left to the world. It's kind of my love letter to the world.
Yeah, I believe in all of that, but also like, what about right now? You're doing it right now. That's enough.
The process is, I tell this, well, I have conversations about this with other photographers all the time. Like, the end result is great, but actually the amount of times I take photos and just leave them on my computer, I don't even start edits for months, just because A, I'm a bit lazy, but B, like, I'm not so bothered about that. I come back off a week's project or something and have had the best time. Like, the process,
yeah, like,
is
what if
way more important.
Like, I don't think you want to be shooting somewhere and be thinking like, what about my legacy? Like, it's gonna it's gonna take you out of it. Like, you should be there and be present and just think like, this is amazing that I could even do this.
Yeah, but
in the first place.
But when you know, I remember when we first met, you were advising me to think more overarching about the body of work that you do and what how to piece a story or a narrative together, right?
Yeah.
And the impact of that.
That's true.
And I find that really difficult. And I think that's what separates good photographers from great photographers, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, it's.
I know I told you that, but I also
You agree with yourself.
I also agree with that. But it's just like, you know, everything should. I do take the long-term perspective on everything that I do, because yes, it's gonna help your work. It's just like what if you did a project where it was like really great, but it wasn't as good as the last project that you did? Like, would that still be okay or not okay? To me, I think that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's good to ramp it up and it's good to continually grow. But sometimes, like, in my view, you're like, with those kind of expectations, you're never going to be happy.
But also define good. You know, it's like, is good like the experience you've had, or, you know, you put an image next to another image. It's like,
yeah,
you know,
I don't know. What is anything?
Yeah,
what about any job?
What is
life?
How's
it? What is life? No, but like, how are you going to find satisfaction? Like, you should be able to find satisfaction in any moment or anything that you do, right? Like, what if you packed groceries for a living? Perfectly fine job. Like, you should be able to the fulfillment is like separate from that.
Yep.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when you're going around the world as a photographer, like, I don't see it as like a high mind, like higher than thou thing. It's just, you should be able to, like, if this is the only thing I'm ever gonna do, like, that's okay. That's how I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course I care and I want to spread my book around. I want to promote it. I want. But it's just, if you become holding on to that forever, I don't think you're ever going to make anything anyway. You got to kind of like let go sometimes. Does that make sense?
For sure.
Yeah.
And but it depends on the goal of what you're trying to achieve, right? I mean, if your goal is, I speak to some guys and go, well, I do photography because I treat it like a business. Literally, I want to make the most amount of money from it.
Yeah.
Are they the best photographers in the world? That's not for me to say.
Right. Yeah, that's a different school of thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it depends on, you know, there's so many nuances within that, right? So it's,
well, there's a lot of different people who drive a car. There's a race car driver, taxi cab driver.
Yeah.
Me trying to park.
Yeah.
But they all use a car, but those are different jobs.
Yep. Okay. I think we've solved the world's problems. There are a few more kind of conversation cards here. I like to ask. Some of them are, I guess, a little bit more not personal, but a little less to do with photography.
How many podcasts does it take to save the world? Yes,
right, we've done it already.
Just one. This is one.
What is one thing that you would do if you weren't afraid at all?
That's a great. Did that come from?
No. These are my questions.
Okay.
No, we've finished the Instagram ones.
Oof, I love that. That's a good question. If I wasn't afraid, let me think what I'm the most afraid of. I think I would allow the more goofy side of me bleed into my work, because I make serious work. We have fun while we're doing it, but I do wonder what it would look like if that Instagram person asked why isn't nobody smiling? What if I just let go a little bit of the restraint that I practice? I would like to see what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Thanks.
Oh God. This is I'm not gonna ask that one. What are you clear about now that 1 year ago you didn't know? I could probably answer that for you, I think.
When you look at this graphic, do you see a bunny or someone being murdered? It's like what was the question?
What are you clear about now that 1 year ago you didn't know?
Okay. I understand. Maybe it's not a year, but let's say the last few years would be, no one will ever care about your own project as much as you. No matter how you convince them, no matter how much you explain, most people don't pay attention. And you have to constantly repeat things, and that's okay. And don't assume anyone has been paying attention. Even if they're your biggest follower or whatever, don't assume that person knows anything that you keep inside of your head. Because most people are living their own lives.
Everyone is in their own head, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to find true kind of understanding and empathy in this world, which is not a. I
don't expect it.
No,
from
of course
people,
not.
But just don't assume that people know everything that you've ever done or that you're doing. Most people who even follow me at a very close level, it's understandable that I think they know more than they might about what I do. Does that make sense? So it's okay to. That's okay.
Yeah. One reason why I like these conversations, hopefully we can pull something out that maybe someone didn't know about you, and that's actually.
I've said a lot of things that on this podcast I've never said on a podcast before, so that's good.
Okay, cool. What on the same lines, actually, tell us something about yourself that no one knows and might be surprised to know about you. Then I'll stop putting you on the spot. If you're willing to share.
Yeah, I just have to think of something that's okay to share. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
I love the Aqua album that has the Barbie Girl song.
I don't know why I'm laughing. I love it too.
Really?
Well, I love the Barbie Girl song.
Yeah.
I don't think I know the album.
Yeah, well, the Barbie Girl song is great, but can I ask you something? Do you think that band is in on the joke? They know, they're ironically making that music, or is it because they have other songs on the album that were big hits when I was a kid growing up, I am the candy man coming from Bounty Land, right? And then they have another one, Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones, right?
Yeah, so good.
I listened to that, and non-ironically, I really like it. But I do listen to it and ask myself, are they in on it? And it's pop music designed to be stupid, and they don't care? Or is it just they thought that that's a great? No, I beg to differ. It's a good topic, but what I think is they could be such great artists that they're in on it, and they're ironically making the best pop songs that they know are great, but they're mindful and knowing that it's kind of trash, but that it's likable.
I probably think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they knew it was trendy at the time. We're talking 90s, right? Mid 90s.
Yeah.
Mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
I think they knew that was kind of the genre to be popular in. But yeah, they can't not know that it is what it is as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
but is there a deeper wormhole about it though? Like, is there? Okay, like let me explain you something like about the Barbie Girl song. Like when it was released, Mattel tried to sue the band. Right, because it's not good for like a toy company. It's like, you can touch me there, dress me everywhere. Like they're trying to sell like toys. Like that's like not a good thing to look like you endorse. Even publicly, I guess they chose to do a lawsuit that they are going to lose because it's artistic freedom to say what you want and make a parody, right? Which the song is, I think. So they, like Mattel, the owner of Barbie, did a lawsuit against them, which they know they couldn't win, probably just to say, we don't like this. But now the song is sampled for the Barbie Girl soundtrack. So is Aqua a giant art project? I think it is.
if it
I think it
is,
might
they're
be the
fucking
most
geniuses.
that I think it is.
I mean, they must be rolling in it now. I mean, that song has been sampled many, many times, right? Even before the movie, which has been a great success. Yeah, good. I can honestly say I've never thought about that before.
Yeah. And like if you went to the MoMA and the video was installed on a beautiful screen, you would look at it as an art piece.
Yeah, definitely.
I think.
Yeah,
I would.
maybe the visuals, not
like
the, not the audio.
but as a self-aware art piece, I think it's self-aware.
Okay.
Like just watch it, or I don't know, get as high as you can and watch it.
I was gonna say, were you on mushrooms when you were
I don't know, but just that's something that people don't know about me.
Okay.
That I love that album.
Great.
Thanks.
I've never had that answer before. That's awesome. All right. Well, we'll start wrapping things up. But for someone as prominent as you in the industry, I'd love to hear, even for me, but I know a lot of people watching and listening would just love to take bits of specific advice from you, especially for people starting out and just saying, lots of love for you out there. Like, I want to be like Joe. He's my favorite photographer. Where do I, I've got a camera. What do I do?
In my opinion is, where people's eyeballs are is always changing. So I was describing, magazine photography was dying when I first started photography. And there was kind of an oh no moment because I had shot for a lot of magazines that were dying around me. But, people's eyeballs are always in different places. And with that comes opportunity for a visual artist, right? So the advice that I have for new people starting out is, if you look at everything collapsing around us, it gives the impression that everything is going away, and it is, but only the old ways of doing things. And where people's eyes are now are new opportunities. And there's a lot of kind of new use cases for photographers. There's a lot of like new exciting things going on. So the reason why I think you've been the doomer of this podcast and I've been the positive one, which is like odd for me because sometimes I'm the doomer. But I think like the way, like where things are going is there seems to be more opportunities than ever. So I would like first start just by looking at like where people's eyeballs are, where there's a need for visuals. And what I would caution against is, doing things that follow paths from the past that no longer work, right? First of all, there's no actual real path to be a photographer. If we were to follow what made Annie Leibovitz a great photographer and what made her successful, a lot of those networks and things like they just don't exist anymore, or they're dramatically changed, or they're filled with insiders that don't have the budget or capacity to reach beyond the pool of people that they already work with, right? So if you try to like emulate and copy that, it's never going to work because this industry is rapidly changing and rapidly moving. So I think it's just like, it's more about paying attention to the world that's around you and then inserting something inside of it that's just like high value and high effort, because there's always going to be um, low effort things around you being used at all time.
Mm-hmm.
And one way that you can really stand out as a photographer is like seeing what's already working with something low effort and then adding a high effort version of it in an existing market or an existing scheme or an existing pattern that's already working.
So where would you say they look? Where do these opportunities lie at this current time?
In my opinion, people's eyes are on their phone. They're going to be in AR very soon. Like the glasses that people wear, the lenses that people wear. We're going to be like surrounded by different layers of the world, right? Like right now when you see a Google review of a restaurant, it's like trapped inside of your phone. I'm sure soon enough that's going to be floating over the restaurant. So already there was a need for images in the base layer of the world. There's people building other layers on top of the world, so it exponentially grows. So that's personally like what I'm looking at, and I would recommend other people getting started look at that too.
Cool. Okay. If you could have any guest to join you for dinner, who would that be? Alive or dead?
I would like to have dinner with Paul Kagame, the leader of Rwanda.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I recently read the book, what is it, Land of a Thousand Hills by Kinzer something. You have to fact check this, but his not his autobiography, sorry, his biography. And he seems like a fascinating dinner guest.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, you've been a fascinating guest. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's very valuable, and it's
I'm
been
very
an absolute
grateful.
pleasure.
I'm very grateful for you. I really resonated with the question, so thank you, and to all the people who asked the questions, thank you as well.
Excellent. Until next time.
Until next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.